Hello and welcome back to another episode of my F1 23 MyTeam career mode. If you did miss the last episode around Brazil, it was an absolute banger of a race. Lando Norris claimed his first ever career win. Max Verstappen came from last to 8th on the grid to pretty much clinch his third world championship. But there's only 3 points separating Hamilton and Leclerc and Sainz for second in the championship as well. So P2 is very spicy at the moment as well. Fernando Alonso is only 5 points ahead of us as well, so the championship battle is very well still on the cards for the minor places as we now take a look at the performance charts, and there is really not much in it between the top 5 teams, and then the battle for the midfield is also very much up there. As you can see there, our line for our performance is pretty much straight lined as we have essentially paused our development for the remainder of the season as we just focus on trying to not lose anything during the regulation changes starting next season. So just really want to make sure we can keep all of our current upgrades ready for next season. So we're going to get straight into practice here, and it's going to be our race strategy program. And not going to lie, I have been really struggling as we actually lose it. We lose the rear end and we've put it in the wall, so definitely not the start that we needed for this session, and also our first practice session at all during this at this new circuit. So definitely not the way we wanted to be starting. I just lost the rear end a little bit as we now take a look at the top 3 for that first practice session. So it's Russell, Hamilton, the Mercedes 1-2, and Charles Leclerc claims 3rd position. We ended up finishing last, I would imagine that was, but yeah, I just lost the rear end on a corner that isn't really a corner, if that makes sense. It's just, yeah, it was just an odd one. Just lost the rear end, but we're going to go straight to qualifying. I won't bore you any further with me just doing some more practice runs, as I reckon our car around here is going to be pretty... It's not going to be great. It's not going to be a pretty good run, as Oscar Piastri sets the pace very early on in the session. We're also on this race with a pretty worn out and because we've used that many this season, we physically cannot order in another one to get used, even if it didn't mean that we have to give ourselves a penalty. And we're currently P10, but I'm trying to get a slipstream here, and Logan Sargent is just making it very difficult for us to try and get ourselves into a good position to start our next lap. So I was then thinking, okay, I'll just stay in your slipstream here, but then he decides he wants to come into the pit, so now I'm just trying to get any slipstream I can to start my lap. But in the end, it's not really going to do anything as we get a bit of a tank slapper, so we're really not comfortable going through that corner there. That's turn 16, so we're just really struggling to be able to get the power down. The car feels like it's always understeering, so we just do not have any grip whatsoever around this circuit at the moment. As now out of that notorious turn 16 that we're finding a lot of issues with, we finally get a half decent run, but it's still not going to really do anything for us, so we're going to end up qualifying last. I reckon that's the first time this season that I've just on pure pace I've actually just qualified last. My qualifying has actually usually been half decent. So now we take a look at the top 3. It's Russell, Norris, and Hamilton, so a British top 3 in the end, and both myself and Iwasa get knocked out, so we'll be sharing the last row of the grid. So a pretty bad qualifying for us.
Welcome to Las Vegas, and for Formula One, it's welcome back to Las Vegas. No longer do we race in the Caesars Palace car park. Tonight, the time is right to go racing in the street. 17 corners, 3 straights, 2 DRS zones, and the glitz and glamour of Las Vegas as we race around the 3.8 miles of Sin City. The strip has been taken over to become a straight tonight, commanding top speeds of around 212 miles an hour. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Leclerc, Verstappen, Perez, Fernando Alonso, Magnussen, Hülkenberg, Ocon, Hamilton, Albon, Oscar Piastri, Gasly, Stroll, Sainz, Bottas, Joe, Sargent, the Rainmaster, De Vries, Sonoda, and Ayumu Iwasa. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. Also here, of course, is Anthony Davidson. They've been involved in a number of costly incidents lately. That's got to affect their mindset going into this race.
Certainly confidence is an important factor. And every time you're involved in an incident, it's not just the car you damage, but that confidence as well. But all the top racing drivers were able to tune that out when the race gets underway and focus on the job at hand.
And as Crofty just mentioned before, we are actually starting P19 due to other people around us getting some penalties. So, well, we're starting a little bit further up, but still, again, not very ideal. I reckon this circuit's going to be not fantastic for overtaking because I don't think there's going to be really too much time between the DRS zones to be trying to extend a gap at all. So I reckon if you got no DRS around this circuit, you're pretty much done for. This circuit's not going to be very good for the overtakes, and I don't think that points are really going to be in the cards here, as Zhou's really going into his grid spot on a bit of an awkward angle. So we technique the AI using here to get themselves lined up. I've tried to straight line it a little bit, as now the lights are illuminating and it is lights out and we're off. Zhou actually gets a really strange start. He darts pretty much immediately. And thanks to Mark here, we're going to get reminded immediately that we've got a worn out engine. So definitely not the start that we're hoping to get. We have made up a few positions, but immediately we're already struggling for the grip. The car's understeering, oversteering. We just cannot get anything out of this car so far. But we're going to try and stay within the slipstream of Pierre Gasly actually here to try and help us defend from Carlos Sainz. So we're going to actually go late on the brakes. We're going to try and barge away through Lance Stroll. I think it was a very late move, so fair play to Stroll for trying to cut back down to his apex. He probably just didn't see us coming through the field. So there's Lando Norris who's got the jump, and so he's actually currently in P1. So last race winner is looking to try and make it a double race win, making his first race win immediately turn into 2. As now we are on lap 2. We're currently still P14, and we've got Carlos Sainz right behind us. He's going to be trying to make a move pretty quickly. I suspect he's got much more pace than us, and he's actually going to make the move what looks like to be pretty easily into turn 7 and turn 8. So I reckon that's pretty much our weak spot here. I've not been able to figure out the braking zone quite yet. It's just such a strange corner. That's something that we don't really see too often in Formula 1. So it's that corner as well as turn 11 where I've been struggling to the most, as we're actually going 4 wide now. This is 4 wide between Oscar Piastri, I reckon that's Alex Albon, Pierre Gasly and Lewis Hamilton. They're going to somehow make it all through there absolutely fine. It looks like very minimal contact, but it's Lewis Hamilton who's going to come out on top in that battle to take the points paying position of P10 as Gasly and Albon continue. They're going to go side by side now going into turn 1 and 3, this last corner kink of turn 17. So in the end, it looks like Pierre Gasly is going to make that overtake on Alex Albon, and he's going to give Albon a little bit of a squeeze to maintain that position. As now DRS has been enabled, and we're going to lock it up, and that's just going to allow Stroll to come through now. So we are struggling. We are in pain right now. It is not going to be a very fun race for us at all, as now Lando Norris is under attack from George Russell. George Russell's going to hang around the outside, which will of course give him the inside for turn 7, and he's going to make the overtake quite easily in the end by the looks of it. As now, this is what I mean by there's just not enough time between the DRS zones to be trying to get any sort of gap to try and help defend you on this next long DRS straight. So now George Russell, who made a brilliant overtake to get to the lead, is now going to lose out, and he's going to drop to 3rd. And as we now find ourselves, we're not in the DRS for Stroll. He's already bolted up the road. But so Bottas and Zhou are going to be trying to get past us, but we're going to try and defend from Zhou a little bit. Bottas we couldn't really defend from as we continue to struggle going through turn 16. I don't know why we're struggling so much around this circuit. I don't know if maybe there's just a less grip because the track hasn't rubbered in too much. It is a street circuit, but we've been pretty good around some of the other street circuits, so it's got me very lost to why I'm struggling so much around this circuit. As now Zhou's going to get past us, and Logan Sargent's going to get past us too. I wasn't expecting the Williams to be going for that gap as well, but hopefully we can just stay within the DRS of these two and see if they can't drag us back to that pack that you can see on the mini-map there, which has got Valtteri Bottas hanging off the end of it. As now, this is Charles Leclerc. He's now under attack from Lando Norris. So this is exactly what I was just saying before. So Charles Leclerc's made the move for the lead. Not too long later, he's already under attack from Lando Norris. So this could be very well a race-long battle for the win, as Charles Leclerc, fair play to him, he's going to keep it up the inside at turn 8, which doesn't work out for him. So Lando Norris is going to keep the lead for now, as only a few corners later going down the Vegas Strip now. it is very much pain for Lando Norris as he now drops down to P3. So he's done exactly what's happened to George Russell. But Max Verstappen's going to want to get a part of this too. But unfortunately, he has to just back out of it just slightly. But I reckon when you're going down this main straight, he might want to be looking to see if he can't make a dive going into turn 1. He's going to pull out from behind the slipstream. But there's just not enough space. And it looks like, he doesn't make the move. But Magnussen is looking to make the move on Sergio Perez. So maybe Perez is struggling a little bit too to be overtaken by the Haas. But anyways, both Haas's in the points at the moment. So very good to see both Haas's inside the top 10 at one of their home Grand Prix. Remember, 3 races in America this season. As now we've got a little replay box in the corner as we make an overtake on Zhou Guanyu. But that was a battle there between Verstappen and Norris, and the battle continues as we now cut back to it. And they're going to stay side by side. So Lando Norris is going to be attempting to do what Charles Leclerc tried to do on him, but Norris is going to do it a little bit more successfully. They're still side by side now, leaving turn 9, heading towards turn 10. As we have to cut back to us because now we're under attack from Zhou. So Zhou's like really not wanting to stay behind us. I don't think anyone is, as we actually kind of skateboard that curb a little bit, which has cost us quite a bit of time as we now go back to this battle pack. This is a wicked battle at the moment, but I've got a feeling Lando Norris is going to be under heavy attack now. He does not have DRS, and I reckon everyone down to about P10 now has got DRS against him, so he's going to be dropping like a fly. Fernando Alonso's already got by him. Max Verstappen now goes by him, and I would imagine a few other guys will be wanting to as well. Sergio Perez does as well. Max Verstappen's going to be trying to get around the outside. Fernando Alonso as well. Can't make the move stick though, as this is just a big cluster of cars at the moment. As ourselves did pop up in that little corner there, we were making a little bit of a move as well. And eventually, Max Verstappen will be trying to get around the outside of Fernando Alonso, and Alonso ends up having to back out of it. Just not enough space there, as now Zhou gets back past us. So yeah, I reckon I can't really just sit behind Zhou, right? And I'm wasting the DRS down those 2 massive DRS straights. So I can't really sit behind him. So my only real thought is maybe we can try and pull each other down, work together and pull each other down those straights. Now Max Verstappen's trying to get back by Fernando Alonso, and he's going to hang out around the outside at turn 8, which gives him the inside for turn 9. So this is looking like it's going to be very much a race-long battle with Verstappen and Alonso. As now Lewis Hamilton, you can see there on the timing as well, has made the move on Nico Hülkenberg. And there's actually quite a few moves going on down this main straight. As Esteban Ocon's making quite the move as well. He's going to try and get past Norris and Kevin Magnussen, but I don't think the move's quite stuck yet on Kevin Magnussen. They're still going to continue it side by side, going down the main straight, but Lando Norris will be absolutely kicking himself that he's being put into this position so many times. Remember, he was leading this race at one point. Now he finds himself only a few laps later, down in P7, just with a case of being at the DRS zones at the wrong time. As we now take a back look, this is our POV, and we're absolutely breezing past Zhou Guanyu at the moment. This is once again what I was mean with the DRS game at the moment that is being played. And speaking of DRS battles, that's George Russell getting past Charles Leclerc. And I would imagine here Kevin Magnussen is going to be wanting to be lining up a move here to go around the outside of Esteban Ocon, but he's actually going to get it done in the braking zone, so fair play to him. That was a very successful move as well, as now ourselves, we're under attack from Zhou Guanyu once again, but we're going to make the same mistake as before. We're going to lock up going into turn 7, so we're going to just have to give the plays back to Zhou. We can't really cut the corner and stay ahead of him. That's not going to be very fair at all. So we have to give it back to him, but we're going to try and stay within his DRS to try and make life a bit easier, as now Charles Leclerc is making the move back on George Russell. So these DRS games are really starting to take effect, as now Max Verstappen is currently sitting P3 with Fernando Alonso P4, as Ocon is now getting past Lando Norris, but Norris thankfully has finally had a little bit of luck with DRS, as now makes up that position on Kevin Magnussen, as well as now once again we're making another move on Zhou Guanyu. So I reckon that's going to be word of the episode, Zhou Guanyu. Anyways, back to the front of the field. It's Kevin Magnussen now getting past Sergio Perez, but they're going to stay side by side at the moment. But I reckon Kevin Magnussen should be able to keep this move. But no, that's Lewis Hamilton. He's making a move to make it 3 wide. A tiny little bit of contact. Sergio Perez is going to get a little bit of a squeeze, but ultimately it's going to be Lewis Hamilton that loses out the most. He was trying to make it 3 wide, and he's going to stay behind those two. As now looking ahead, that's Lando Norris making the move on Esteban Ocon, so he now finds himself up to P5, but he's crucially lost 5.5 seconds to Fernando Alonso, so he's going to be absolute kicking himself considering he was leading the race. Now he finds himself so far back as this battle pack continues to grow. Just look how many cars are in this battle pack with Lewis Hamilton leading it at the moment, as once again we're going to find ourselves on track from Zhou Guanyu, but we're just going to run wide once again, and I just cannot seem to figure out how to get through this corner without locking that inside front. That little bit of steering angle has to be put on while under braking, because or else you just won't be able to make the corner. So it's a little bit tricky at the moment, and you know, Charles Leclerc is going to make another overtake for the lead of the race. So could we see a Ferrari win? We haven't seen one for quite a while in this series yet. There's been 3 of them so far, I reckon, from the top of my head, as Lando Norris is making a move on Esteban Ocon. They're going to stay side by side as they are behind with Perez and Hamilton. They're going to be staying side by side as well. And now this is George Russell making another overtake on Charles Leclerc. So this could very well be the finishing order if nothing goes wrong in later on in the race, as we just saw Lewis Hamilton making a move on Sergio Perez. So the battle between Mercedes and Red Bull still very much alive. So now we're going to do an order check here. So the top 3 is Russell, Leclerc, and amazingly Fernando Alonso. Then it's Max Verstappen, our championship winner, in P4, Lando Norris 5th, Ocon, Hamilton, Perez, and then the 2 Hasses 9th and 10th. So very good from the 2 Hasses in one of their home races. Carlos Sainz, Piastri, Gasly, Stroll, Bottas, Logan Sargent. Ourselves is in P17 at the moment. We've got a small gap to Zhou Guanyu at the moment in P18. That's Albon, our teammate Iwasa. Then at the rear of the field, it's the 2 AlphaTauris of Tsunoda, then De Vries. And there's actually a yellow flag ahead, and it's going to call out the safety car, that yellow flag. So I wonder what's happened. Max Verstappen's tumbling through the order up in the top left. His name's now sitting in P16 as we come around the corner. Max Verstappen's parked there, so I wonder if he's had some sort of issue, but we're still saying we've still got 22 classifiers here, so I wonder if he's maybe had some sort of spin. But either way, we're going to be able to get a free pit stop here. We're going to try and make it to the end of the race on a set of hard tyres, so I reckon that's really the only logical thing to do. We could try and stay on the mediums, but then we're trying to extend the mediums by a lot, and what is there really else to do as we cross the start-finish line, actually, inside the pit lane. Mark comes up saying that we were going to box this lap anyway, so this has worked out beautifully for us. Unfortunately, Iwasa is going to have to double stack behind us. We're actually going to do a front wing change, where I've had a little bit of contact with the wall in one of the exits of the corner, which caused a little bit of end plate damage. But either way, we're going to get that repaired at really no extra cost. We're going to stay behind Joe, which is about where we were in the end. But this is a replay of what happened to Max Verstappen. He just got on the throttle a bit too early and spun it around. Now this is looking at Fernando Alonso, and he had to take a little bit of evasive work. But either way, that's definitely not what Max Verstappen needed, even though he's already clinched the World Championship. He definitely wanted a strong result at the time. At that point in time, I reckon it was probably P4 from memory. And we are very eager to try and get this race underway. I kind of want to make sure I stay with Alex Albon to try and see if we can't send one into turn 1. But in the end, I kind of get caught off guard a little bit. I was trying to slow down so then I wasn't going to drive up the back of Alex Albon, which has put us a bit too far back. We can't really send a lunge anyway, but now Max Verstappen's going to be wanting to get back by us pretty quickly. I would imagine he wants to make his way through the field, but almost immediately we have got, like, there's no DRS at the moment, but the slipstream's just so powerful down the Vegas Strip that there's these sort of battles already happening. And Oscar Piastri, I would imagine, is going to be trying to make the move on Ocon as well as Lewis Hamilton, and he will make the move stick just. He does end up getting past Esteban Ocon, and it looks like Hamilton for a moment there was going to be trying to get by as well. As now we're going to send a dive bomb on Alex Albon while the field's compressed and they're all battling. I'm really wanting to try and make up a couple of positions here to try and see if we can't make anything happen with this. I doubt anything's going to really happen with this. I still don't think points are really on the cards at all. But it's definitely worth a shot. This Lewis Hamilton now is trying to get past Esteban Ocon, but again, with no DRS, it's really just a slipstream battle. As out of nowhere, Valtteri Bottas has come into this. So Valtteri Bottas, I don't know, from memory, he wasn't too far up the road from ourselves before the safety car came out. So he's had an absolute massive win through the pit lane to find himself within the points at the moment, but he's going to come immediately under attack from Lewis Hamilton. So maybe that slipstream was just all a bit of a fluke. And Hamilton's also going to use that power that he got from the slipstream to try to get the move done on Ocon as well. And Bottas is going to immediately throw it up the inside of Ocon as well. And they're going to stay side by side. Ocon's only just kept the nose in there at turn 3 and turn 4. But ultimately, they're going to stay side by side which should give Valtteri Bottas the upper hand here, as DRS has now finally been activated. And that looks like the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc making a move on Zhou Guanyu in the background, and it looks like he has made that move successfully. But I reckon Zhou might just keep his nose in there. No, he pulls out of it very smartly indeed to try and not get himself any damage. And back on board with us, we're going to get a ripper run out of turn 12 for going onto the strip to get ourselves past George Russell. And we should have DRS here as well, so we might even be able to make the move on Fernando Alonso and Yuki Tsunoda, which would be absolutely wicked to get ourselves into the top 15. But it's unfortunately still not points, and I reckon points is really where we should be. I reckon even our car's rated as the lowest car on the grid, we've been very consistent in getting points so far this season, so it's going to be disappointing if we can't get the points. And momentarily, I reckon that was 3 wide going through there, and that's actually copped us quite a bit of damage on our front wing. We're going to stay out though, because I can't really afford to pit, so we're just going to have to do a 1 lap and see what the pace is like. As now, actually, DRS has only just been enabled. I genuinely thought it had already been enabled. I could have sworn it had already been enabled. But anyways, we made quite a bit of contact with Fernando Alonso as we actually lock up and nearly went straight on with Fernando Alonso and tagged the exit wall there as well. So we're actually struggling a lot on front end grip at the moment now with that damage, so as if we weren't struggling already enough. And Max Verstappen's going to send a dive and he hits us. We've half spun, we've gained a lot more front wing damage now. Our front wing is completely gone. And how does Max Verstappen keep going? I could have sworn he would have copped quite a bit of damage, and there, that's a replay. That move was really never on. That was kind of like myself and Lance Stroll, but unlike me, I did make the move work, and Max Verstappen didn't, as we now pull ourselves into the pit lane along with Max Verstappen. So Verstappen did actually sustain quite a bit of damage, and this is pretty much going to end our race now. Unless a safety car comes out, this race is pretty much over for us. We're going to come out of the pit, so essentially nearly a third of the lap behind, and we're going to have a lengthy stop as well on our front wing. We're going to lose quite a bit of time on the exit as well, as I could have found the clutch point for a moment there. But back to the front, this is Carlos Sainz. He's going to be trying to make a move here on the leader as well. Maybe, oh, it looks like he sent it, but he didn't quite make it to Lando Norris in the end. And this is Logan Sargent. Logan Sargent's in the points. And where did this come from? I was battling him for P17 before the safety car came out. And this here looks like it's a change for the lead, with Carlos Sainz getting through on Lando Norris. And Lando Norris, unfortunately, just has to back out of it. But now, only onto the next lap, Lando Norris should make this move around the outside of Carlos Sainz to get the lead back. And just as a pre-warning, there's not going to be much footage of ourselves anymore. We're going to be just struggling to try and find any lap time sitting at the back of the field, trying to just make it to the end, really. But it's a bit of a crap race for ourselves, so we're going to enjoy this battle for the lead at the moment, which I reckon will go to the end of the race. And Sergio Perez has very much put himself back into this battle as well. And Kevin Magnussen, surprisingly enough, is currently P4, genuinely P4 at the moment as well. I'm fairly certain he did make a pit stop under that safety car. So he's currently battling the McLaren of Oscar Piastri for P4, but I reckon the McLaren of Piastri will get the move done here, going into turn 6 and turn 7, as Sergio Perez has made the move for P2 on Lando Norris, but I reckon he's going to be under attack here when it comes to DRS time, because Carlos Sainz has bolted. He's now got a 2-second lead over these two guys, but I would imagine that with the pace that the McLaren has been showing in recent races, that Ferrari could very well be caught up quite easily, as now Lewis Hamilton is trying to get past both Kevin Magnussen and Oscar Piastri, but he can only manage to get past Piastri for the moment. And what's this? This is Charles Leclerc. Leclerc's going slow, so this is one of the championship contenders, not for the overall championship. Max Verstappen's already sealed this, but this is for P2 in the championship, so this is falling very well into Lewis Hamilton and Carlos Sainz's hands, as those two are also in the battle for P2 in the championship, as Lewis Hamilton does get by Kevin Magnussen to score a few extra points. And this is now Oscar Piastri making the move on Kevin Magnussen. So Magnussen is still in a very respectable P6 for the Haas, and Nico Hülkenberg's just outside of the points. He's currently sitting P10. And speaking of Nico Hülkenberg, he's trying to make the move around the outside of Pierre Gasly to get himself into the points. Can he make it stick? It looks like the Alpine's got a slightly better run, but if he can keep his nose in here, he might be able to make a dive bomb going into turn 7, and he locks up the rear so slightly, as you saw that he had to correct some oversteer just a little bit. And Pierre Gasly's going to try and force the issue here. He's going to try and keep it around the outside. Nico Hülkenberg, respectively, gives him a little bit of space to work with, but that exit of the Alpine is going to secure his P10 just for the moment. And as I said only a few laps ago, I reckon Carlos Sainz can get caught up here. And sure enough, Carlos Sainz has been caught up. He's now within DRS threat of both Perez and Lando Norris. There's 4.3 seconds back to Lewis Hamilton, so I don't think Lewis Hamilton's going to be able to find himself in the fight for the win at the moment, as Kevin Magnussen gets himself back past Oscar Piastri for P5. And on the timing there, Nico Hülkenberg has also made the overtake for P10 as well. So at the moment, it is very much a double Haas finish inside the top 10, as Ocon is now battling with Lance Stroll. This is for P7 on the road, and Stroll's going to be able to keep the inside line here. As the race has gone on and more grips come available to them, going around the outside, which gives you the inside for turn 8, has very much become a good racing line to be on as well, as now back on board with Sergio Perez. And this is an overtake for the lead of the race with only 2.5 laps to go. Could that be the race winning overtake? I don't think so, as now with only a lap and a half to go, Carlos Sainz is going to get back past Sergio Perez. So this is a very much still on for who could win this. There's 3 cars still eligible in it, as they're actually pulling away from Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton's lost about 0.8 of a second to these guys further up the road, as now Sergio Perez finds himself back in the lead, and Lando Norris is trying to make the move on his fellow ex-teammate, sorry, but very good friend Carlos Sainz. But Carlos Sainz is just going to keep the second place from Norris, but Norris looks like he's going to be fighting. He's pulled out from outside the slipstream. They're going side by side as they cross the line to start the final lap. This battling has now put Sergio Perez outside of DRS threat. He's now 1.2 seconds ahead of them. Remember, it is only 1 second that he needs for them to lose DRS, as now Oscar Piastri is making the move on Kevin Magnussen for P5 on the road. And as you can see, Gasly's got back past Hülkenberg, so Gasly at the moment is absolutely ruining Haas's day. I'm sure Haas would love to be getting a double points finish. As where is Stroll come from? Stroll's found like coming out of nowhere, and he's trying to get past Kevin Magnussen as well, but it looks like Magnussen's going to be trying to use that DRS to good effect to get himself back past Oscar Piastri, and Piastri could very well lose out to Stroll here if he's not careful, but he very smartly tucks back in behind Kevin Magnussen, as now Carlos Sainz is getting past Lando Norris, but I don't think, even with the power DRS, he's going to be able to catch up to Sergio Perez. So Perez could very well be on course to win his 5th ever Grand Prix from the top of my head. It could be very well win number 5, and it looks like it will be as he rounds the final corner to take the checkered flag. He is the first ever race winner around the streets of Las Vegas. Not Caesar Palace, but the streets of Las Vegas, and we crossed the line in the end to finish P21. So definitely not where we wanted to be. We ended up finishing backwards from P19 where we started, so definitely disappointed in the finish further back than when we were. Carlos Sainz very well gets driver of the day.
Another year of Formula One draws to a close, and a new World Drivers' Champion is declared. Another entry added to that prestigious list of the sport's most incredible drivers. And Las Vegas has its winner, and what a special victory that was, taking the checkered flag under the neon lights of Nevada. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sports that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
Well, what a race that was. It was absolutely terrible for ourselves having to do 2 pit stops in the end to repair some damage. But as a spectator, as just me just watching the replay back and watching what the AI were getting up to, I'm very much looking forward to the race in real life. And it definitely was an entertaining race to watch. A lot of DRS battling, a lot of side-by-side action, especially going through turn 7 and 8. I wasn't really expecting too much action through there. It looked very single file through there in photos. So it's very good to see good racing around there. So Lewis Hamilton, Oscar Piastri, Lance Stroll, Magnussen very well in P7, Ocon. Logan Sargent getting some points as well in that Williams, outperforming his teammate Alex Albon as well. And then Pierre Gasly rounds out the points, finishes Nico Hülkenberg, unfortunately, only 0.3 of a second off making it a double points finish before Haas in one of their home Grand Prix. As we saw before, Max Verstappen has now officially clinched the World Championship, finally getting to do some burnouts as he actually clinched it in the sprint race last race. So he could finally do some burnouts and celebrate it, as Sainz and Hamilton, they are still very close. Only 3 points separating those two. And Charles Leclerc, with that DNF, he's dropped a little bit further back. He's still within contention for P2, but it's made his life a lot harder to try and get P2, as now the gap between the top three is only 50 points. So still very much in it between the top three. As ourselves, we still find ourselves in a championship battle with McLaren, but only just still within contention. And is it likely? I'm not too sure if it's going to be likely in the end, because at the moment it is only me on the occasion scoring points, and unfortunately at the moment doesn't look like Iwasa is going to be able to keep his seat. There's only one more race to go this season, and I've given him a bit of an ultimatum. I've told him if he can get points, he keeps his seat, and we'll continue to develop him as a driver. But the other side of the ultimatum is he loses his seat if he does not score any points. So I really do hope that if we do not end up signing him in the future, that he does find himself a spot on the grid, because I reckon he's still got plenty of potential. He's just not the kind of driver we need at the moment if he can't get himself scoring any points at the moment this season. So as we now find ourselves back in the HQ, we don't really have anything to do, to be honest. We're just going to have to try and survive the next Grand Prix. And as you can see there, we have maxed out our engines, and all of them are pretty heavily worn. So it's going to be interesting to see if we can make it to the end of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, but that is going to be all she wrote for this episode. So if you did enjoy this episode, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next episode, the final episode of Season 1, and I will see you then.